Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion picture you're about to see contains scenes so terrifying, the public must be given grave warning.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. I am, of course, your host, Sewer Dweller. And we are in the middle of haunt season. That is why it's becoming really hard for me to do the work and the necessary stuff I need to do a weekly podcast. So, yeah, we're a little bit late again. Hope you guys can forgive me. I'm trying to do better on this one. But between work, the haunt, and everything going on, in case you didn't notice, this part of Ohio last week had a lot. Basically, we got the outskirts of Hurricane Helene coming through last week, so we had a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and to the point where our haunt Friday night, we were the only one open, but we lost power right at the beginning of the night before we even opened. Every other haunted area had to close because they're outdoor haunts, but not Hell's Dungeon. We are an indoor haunt, and we powered through, and we ended up having an impromptu blackout night, if you will. Um, we gave the customers that wanted to come out in that shit. I mean, I guess that's what you could call it, because it was not pretty outside at all. They came out, they got scared, they had a good time, and we put on a show. We put on a show for them, and I hope everybody who came through had a great time, and I think they did. But this week, I digress. This week's movie, we are watching All Hallows Eve. This is Damien Leone's. I believe this is his feature film debut. Damien Leone, of course, could be Leone. I'm really bad with names. Of course, brought us the ever love. This is not his first movie though. That is my fault. That's extra special effects. Hold on. Let's go to director. So boop, boop. Let's see. Previous. The Ninth Circle was his first movie. Okay, yeah. So this is not his first movie, but this will be the feature film debut of Art the Clown. David Howard Thornton is not playing Art in this movie though. But this is the feature film debut of Art the Clown. We are celebrating Halloween all month long, so we were watching Halloween themed movies. We've been watching them since last month. We've done Funhouse Massacre so far. Haunted Ween was the last movie we did. And I believe we've done one more. I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. But we're gonna keep up with the Halloween theme this month, and hopefully everybody enjoys and gets a chance to watch these movies. All Hallows Eve, you can find it, of course, on Tubi. There is a sequel that I've never seen. The sequel, I've seen this one before, but I have not seen the sequel to All Hallows Eve. I don't even know. Let's take a look. Um, yeah, it's going to be a completely different director and everything for All Hallows Eve 2. So we're not, yeah, it isn't Damien Leone. Typing it in now to see who directed that movie. There it is. Three directors: Jesse Baggett, Elias Benavides, and Andres Borgi. Again, probably butchered half of those names. Um, but here we are. We are going to get into the movie here in a little bit. But of course, we are going to start the show off with um, haunt or horror industry and haunt news. So sit back and let's go ahead and see what's going on out there. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not as prepared this week as I normally am. I've got some news stories up, but I haven't really um gone through them like I normally would. Again, being a haunt actor this time of year, it's really hard to even get 5 minutes to breathe, let alone prepare for a podcast. So hopefully next week we can pick something better. I'm almost ready next week to just go ahead. I think we might do Shivers next week. I think we're coming up on that time to do Shivers. We'll decide by the end of the show. But let's go ahead and get started on the horror movie and haunt industry news section. We're gonna do a little something different here by the end of this segment too. Um, we'll try something a little bit new. But let's get into it. Excuse me. Hush Haunted Attraction in Westland, Michigan has returned to the Metro Detroit area with three haunts, three bars, and expanded live entertainment for 2024. Um, we this is someone's review. I'm sorry. Let's take a look. But if you live in the Detroit area in the Westland, Michigan area, go check out Hush Haunted Attraction. If you got a haunt in your area, check it out. Go check it out. These are These are the equivalent of a small business. They need your support to keep going. The actors need people to entertain, and scare and all that good stuff, and it keeps people busy. Well, let's move on to the next one. Let's make sure. Let's take a look at this one. See, this is and now, guys. This is why I vet and I go through every story first. Um. Oh wait, you. Okay, so delays have plagued Fright Fest Extreme at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson Township, New Jersey. Before the event's Friday the 13th opening, park officials announced it would open as a preview that evening instead, with only certain mazes being operational. On September 18th, the park said the preview period would be extended another week. As of this past weekend, Texas Chainsaw Trick or Treat and Stranger Thing mazes are still listed as coming soon on the website, and they have not been advertised as open on the park's official social media channels. Guests have been critical of the delays, especially since many had purchased higher tier season passes to access the separately ticketed mazes during the Fright Fest Extreme. Six Flags Great Adventure is not the only Six Flags park that has seen delays in opening their haunts. In this week's, yeah, I guess it's a trend or something like that, is what they're saying in this article. Let's take a look at this one here. I mean, it would piss. Yeah, I'd be pissed too. Honestly, I'd be really angry if I paid all that money to get a pass to Six Flags. And it's not cheap. But let's not pretend that theme parks and theme park haunts aren't cheap or are cheap. Um, I'd be mad if I bought a ticket to a park to go see a haunt, go see all this stuff, and then not be able to go to half to like three of the bigger mazes, especially when they're the intellectual property mazes that are what draws the customers in to begin with. You could sure, I mean, yeah, it cool. These other mazes are awesome. Don't get me wrong, but if you're going to Universal Studios, um, perfect example. Universal Studios TikTok. People on TikTok going to Universal Studios. What are they posting the most of? Last year and this year, as a matter of fact. Last year, people posted. I don't know how many times I saw that Megan dance. That dance that's in the middle of the street. Where basically the Megans are dancing in the middle of in one of the sidewalks, and they do a little dance and they go take pictures. I saw that same dance 100 times last year. Not just and not the same video over and over. It was different angles, different lighting, different areas and stuff like that. Because they didn't do this. They didn't do like the dance. It's almost they didn't do the dance in the same area every year from the sound of it. But we um but I watched that so many times. I didn't see much from the other mazes that are in Halloween Horror Nights because the intellectual property is what draws people in. So now if I'm posting basically that I have a Texas Chainsaw maze, I've got a Stranger Things maze, I've got a Trick or Treat maze, and I have thousands upon thousands of people that show up to my business, to my park, to go through these mazes, and now I got to go out and tell them that they're not ready. They're going to want to know why. They're going to want to know why. They're going to want to know when. You got to have answers. It is already October. It is October 4th. We are 27 days away from Halloween night. And you haven't opened your 3 intellectual property mazes. Like that's a giant problem. So hopefully they can get this fixed. I'm trying to read this other article about it. Stacy Wheeler, a spokesperson for Six Flags Great Adventure on Monday, said only that the delays were due to unforeseen circumstances. Due to unforeseen circumstances, some of our mazes are opening later than expected. But during our Fright Fest Extreme preview weekends, guests had the unique chance to enjoy all of our fall events, except for the three fucking mazes that they went for. Um, including the Kids Boo Fest, Oktoberfest, and of course Fright Fest Extreme, all included with their daily park admission. She did not say which mazes have not yet opened or respond to a question of whether needed inspections are the cause for the delays or some posters on the park's social media have said. So if that's really it, that's a failure on the park. That's a failure on the park if they can't get inspections. I mean, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. How the hell can you not get your haunt ready for inspections weeks ahead of time? Like that's a huge failure on the park. Wheeler also did not immediately respond to a question of whether Fright Fest Extreme would be fully operational for the coming weekend of September 26th through the 29th. That was last weekend, and I can't imagine they were because I believe I'm gonna say most of the East Coast was suffering the effects of that hurricane. I mean, it stretched all the way here to Ohio, and I'm not even on the East Coast. I'm on the western part of Ohio. So that's just how big that storm was. Um, but yeah, that's a problem right there. I don't um know what's going on there. Hopefully they can figure that out. Moving on. Frights are creeping back to Angola, New York. Let's see this. Okay, that's the website. Okay. Um, Whenever Haunted House reopens for the Halloween season on Saturday, October 5th. This year's event will feature numerous new experiences, including Curse of the Mummy Escape Room, Delaware Creek Horror Boutique, and The Triage, a simulation experience to terrify guests before they even enter the haunts. Uh, Everhaunt contains multiple haunts, midway games, coffin rides, escape rooms, virtual reality rides, photo ops, a local horror history show, and the popular Delaware Creek Pumpkin Spectacular. Also returning this year is the event's Horror Icon series, where guests can meet horror celebrities on select weekends. This year's series is headlined by Tyler Mane, best known for his work as Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween movies and Sabretooth in the X-Men franchise. Little known fact about Tyler Mane, he used to wrestle. He didn't do well wrestling, but he used to wrestle. Everhaunt has continued his partnership with several charities for this season, including Kids Escaping Drugs, Operation Good Neighbor, and Shine Bright Little Fright. The event runs select nights from October 5th through the 31st. Tickets are on sale now, starting at $29.98 for general admission, $44.99 for VIP pass. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the website real quick. Everhaunt wins 2024 Buffalo News Best of 716 Award. I don't know what 716 is. My 716 might be the area code. There's Tyler Mane. This is up there, updates in that. Let's see this. Look at the attractions. Oh wow, there is a lot. There is 22 locations, including the parking lot, the ticket booth. Wow, that is a walk to the entrance. I'm not gonna lie, that is a pretty good long walk. Parking lot, ticket booth, and VIP booth. Number 4 is the Rosewood County Asylum entrance. Number 5 is the J.D. Argyle Apothecary Talking Heads show. You got the Rosewood County General Store, Rosewood County Sheriff's Department. That's where the first aid booth is. Your Delaware Creek Horror Boutique. Holland Road, Escape from Holland Road. Willoughby and Sons Casket Company, which is games. Buried Alive Coffin Ride. Studio 1913 Screen Booth. The Awakening Public Library Show. Delaware Creek Pumpkin Spectacular. Delaware Creek Estates Entrance. Jurassic Dark at the Delaware Creek. The Curse of the Mummy at the Delaware Creek. Pumpkin Hole Lanes. Might be some bowling in there. The Pavilion in the Creek. Zombie Brain Smash. The Great Pumpkin. Butch the Goyle Treasure Hunt. And Escape from Frankenstein at the Boutique. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff to do with this thing. So, yeah. Something to check out if you're in the Delaware area or if you're in the New York area. But we're going to go further down south to one of my old stomping grounds, King's Dominion, Doswell, Virginia. Doswell is just a little bit northeast, kind of Richmond, the capital. So we will, yeah. It's an interesting place. I'm not gonna lie. But apparently they had some problems. King's Dominion Halloween Haunt event breaks down into mass chaos as teens brawl, the police say. This is Kevin Relio. I am neither. I am Sewer Dweller or AKA Steven. What's up, Pile? Didn't notice your comment when you wrote nice, so I don't remember. I couldn't tell you what it was nice for. But yeah, King's Dominion's had a problem with this for a long time. I mean, since I was a kid, there was issues. I still remember going to the park one day. We always went to Busch Gardens, and then once a year, we would go to up to Richmond to go to King's Dominion. Um, and I still remember I was 5 or 6 years old, maybe even been younger than that. I've been like 4 or 5 years old. We go up to the park. It was me. It was actually when my father was still around. So it was me, my father, my and my sister. My brother hadn't been born yet. And one of my favorite things up there to do was always to go see Yogi Bear and his crew, Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Um, well, we were up there and we were going to the kiddie rides, and all of a sudden this big fight breaks out with about 10 to 15 guys beating the hell out of each other. My mom grabs us. Oh, there's no worries, brother. There's no worries. Um, my mom grabs me and my sister, and she drag like my sister was actually almost hit with a cooler, when the fight started. My dad pulled her to safety. So my mom pulls me and my sister into this into one of the to a closed ride on top of that, and tells the attendants that there's this giant fight out there and she just needs to hide. She wants to hide us basically so we don't get hurt. And the fight ends, they get it all broke up and all that good stuff. And we walk around the park and you can just see these guys looking around, ready to start going at it again anytime they saw one of any of the other guys. Um that was the last time we went to King's Dominion. My mother would not take us back. Um, but that again, you're talking like 1983, 1984. Not to age myself. But a sheriff's office in Virginia tells Fox News Digital that Halloween event at the popular Kings Dominion theme park broke down into mass chaos over the weekend as a brawl erupted among young adults with as many as 300 people in the area encouraging the unrest. Sergeant Steve Wills of the Hanover County Sheriff's Office said the incident happened Saturday night following a recent stabbing of an 18-year-old at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg and fights in late August involving juveniles at the nearby Chesterfield County Fair. Um, it seems to be the social norm now for this younger generation to just cause chaos, and this is essentially what we saw, Wills told Fox News Digital. We initially responded to a fight inside the arcade at King's Dominion, Will said. We had a deputy that was right there. He came across the radio asking for assistance because he had what he said estimated to be about 300 people. Um, we had a handful of people fighting, surrounded by hundreds of people that were encouraging it, egging it on, being disorderly, being difficult for us to get through the crowd, to get to the middle of what was going on. Willis continued. And then as we start flushing them out of the arcade, that group goes outside and it just spreads outside. Now and then somebody screams gun. And next thing you know, you have a flood of all these people we just kicked out of the arcade come rushing back in as we are trying to restore order and get outside to see if there is somebody with a gun. It was just mass chaos. As of Tuesday, there have been no arrests in relation to the incident. Wills said 14 deputies had to respond to the scene at King's Dominion, which is located outside of Richmond, Virginia. Like I said, it's just like northwest of Richmond. Um, we as parents, as a society, have got to do better to raise these kids to be respectful and have manners, Willis also told Fox News Digital, adding that we have got to do a better job of controlling our kids' behavior and instilling good values in them so when they are not in our presence, they don't behave like this. King's Dominion told Fox News Digital in a statement Tuesday that the incident happened after rides and attraction inside the park temporarily shut down due to inclement weather. A minor physical altercation occurred among some juveniles seeking refuge in the park's Candy Apple Grove area but was quickly halted by the security team, and parties involved were subsequently banned from the park, a spokesperson said. Normal operations resumed once the weather cleared the area, and at no point were there any weapons used or found to be inside the park. That is a PR. That is a PR statement if I've ever heard one. So you're going to tell me that the sheriff's department is over exaggerating that a bunch of people are fighting, 300 people are sitting there, not letting the, surrounding, watching the fight. I mean, let's not lie to ourselves. If there's a fight going on, people are going to stop and they're going to watch. What So we're gonna believe we're not gonna believe the sheriff's deputy who said there's about 300 people gathered to watch, encouraging them, egging them on, and they can't get through. But King's Dominion is gonna make it out like it's a minor physical altercation. Go fuck yourself. King's Dominion describes its Halloween haunt event as a screaming good time. Like I said, there's your PR. As night falls on the park, hundreds of creatures from the underworld emerge to make your worst nightmares come true. Spine-chilling haunted houses, elaborate scare zones, and horrifying haunted mazes will force you to sleep with the lights on. There is a reason why all these big major national parks, even locally, Dent Schoolhouse has put a chaperone policy, and there's a reason all these big multi-billion-dollar theme parks like Busch Gardens, Universal Studios, Six Flags, Knott's Berry Farm, and all these parks out there. There is a reason they're putting in these chaperone policies in place. Sorry about that. Had to sneeze. There's a reason they're putting these chaperone policies in place, and this is why. When you have hundreds or thousands, probably more than likely, of unsupervised children running around, children, unsupervised teenagers running around, doing what they want, there's going to be issues. There's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. And we've become a society where we all break out our phones, especially teenagers. We become a society where we break out our phones to film the fight, to get it to be the first one to post it online so people can, go see it, go watch it, and all that good stuff. So there's a reason why these big multi-billion dollar parks are putting in chaperone policies, and there it is. It's a shame. It sucks. One of my favorite things growing up was especially as a teenager, was being able to walk around a theme park or a festival or something by myself. As much as I love my mom, when she was alive, I didn't want to spend time with her when I was 16, 17 years old. I wanted to go do my own thing. And fortunately, I guess I lived in a day and age where you could do that. Sorry, I had to wet the whistle. One of the things about being haunt season 2 and me being a haunt actor is my throat hurts. But yeah, I mean, last time I joined you a couple weeks ago. Busch Gardens had issues with a big fight in the park, and somebody got stabbed. And now King's Dominion, less than an hour north of Busch Gardens, is having the same issues. So I expect there to be a chaperone policy. Okay, let's see. Before the start of the Halloween season, King's Dominion had implemented a chaperone policy, which was in effect on the incident date. All guests 15 years of age or younger must be accompanied by a chaperone who is at least 21 years old to be admitted or to remain in the park past 4 p.m. This chaperone may accompany up to 10 guests per day, must remain inside the park during the visit, and be available by phone throughout their stay. Articles on the incident did not mention the exact ages of the parties. Um, Again, failure on the part. I if that's the case, well, it does sound like a couple of these kids are over the age of 15, though. That just 15 sounds really low for me, to me at least. But I could be wrong. Let's see. Here we go. Something fun. Got ghosts. The video doorbell and security company. I brought up the website. Let's see. Um, Video doorbell and security company camera company Ring will pay you to escape your haunted house with Ring's Great Ghost Search. From real paranormal proof to family and friends in costume, Ring is looking for the. Oh, sorry, guys. Uh, Ring's looking for the country's greatest ghost sightings. Whether seriously spectral or sublimely silly, Ring users can submit videos of paranormal activity captured on their Ring doorbell or camera now through November 1st, 2024, for a chance to win a grand prize of $100,000. To enter, log into your Ring account and follow the instructions. Video clips must be 30 seconds or less and captured on an existing Ring device. Full eligibility requirements can be found in their official rules. I'm on the website, and really all the information's in that article. There's not much information on the website. So if you got a Ring doorbell, film a funny video, send it in. Who knows? You might win $100,000. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I am so sorry for not being prepared. Um, I'm not as prepared. At least not that I'm not being prepared. Not as prepared as I normally am for the show, especially this segment of the show. Because like I said, I working at a haunt, unfortunately, takes a lot of time out of you. Um, Pyle can tell you. I don't know if Pyle's still around or not, but Pyle could tell you. Raz could tell you how much time Raz has been working. I think he's only had 1 or 2 days off in the past 2 months, 2 or 3 months, helping get the haunt ready. He's been training the actors and everything. So everybody's working really really hard for the season. Um, Hopefully you guys get to see a video of Hell's Dungeon this year. Because certain I'm not gonna go there. If I haunt etiquette tells me not to go there, so I'm not gonna go there. And talk shit about reviewers. I'm not a fan of. I will just say this. I am not a fan of haunt reviewers. Um, Especially certain ones. But let's see. Let's go ahead and move on to horror movie news for the week, because I don't see too much more haunt industry news outside of basically negative stuff, and I don't want this to become like a big negative shit on certain parts of the industry podcast. So I will talk about one thing though, especially locally here, haunt etiquette, haunter etiquette, I guess you could call it. Um, as a haunter, you know what annoys you. You know what you don't want customers coming inside to do to you. So how about we don't go to another haunt and do the same thing? Um, Last weekend we had an on a person who used to work with us come through the haunt, and immediately they open the doors. I'm in the beginning now. They open the doors, and the first thing he does is call me by my actual name. And it kind of irritated me a little bit because I'm playing a character. I am not Steven any right now. I am not Sewer Dweller. I am not Steven. I am Solomon the groundskeeper. That's who I am. I am. You don't call me anything else. And Until I'm out of costume, I am Solomon the Groundskeeper. That is my character. That is who I am. And that's who I'm gonna be. I do my best not to break character. I think I only had to break character twice over the weekend, and that's because that's to deal with people who were starting to make threats as we were getting ready to go into the haunt. They were getting ready to go in the haunt. I heard them say a couple of things, and I had to put them in their place real quick. Um, because we do take threats very seriously in the industry. But if you're a haunter and you go to another haunt, we do not call each other by our real names. We do not talk while the actors are reading their lines or doing their act. You don't talk. They are here to do a job. Let them do their job. And this goes for customers too. If you go to a haunt, don't have fun, joke around with your friends, but when it comes time to listen, be quiet and listen. You're gonna miss key points to the story of the haunt or key parts of the haunt if you can't be quiet. Also, one of the biggest haunt etiquette things I've seen, especially here in the Dayton area, don't go on social media and talk shit about other haunts, especially in Ohio, where we have more haunts than any other state in the country. We have more registered haunted houses than every other state in the country, and that includes Texas, Alaska, and California, which are three of the biggest states in the country. We have more haunts than they do. There are what, 8 weekends this season for the most part? Are we really going to pretend that that customers, people of the Dayton area or the Miami Valley area, are only going to go to one haunted house the entire season? There's no reason. There's no reason to have competition or badmouth other haunts in your area. Work with them. Work together to help boost the industry. The industry needs it, the industry thrives on cooperation between haunts. One of the things I've enjoyed working at Hell's Dungeon is we have this thing, and it's next Wednesday night. Um, we have this thing called Industry Night where we invite other haunts in the area. Um, I think I know, like, I know, what do you call it? The Haunted Hotel, Face Your Fears in Springfield, Ohio usually comes in. Carnage, Haunted House in Columbus normally comes. Dent Schoolhouse comes up. I think it's called Nightmare Manor in Middletown. I don't think Land of Illusion comes up. American Horrorplex down in Kentucky comes up, and um, they all get to come through for free. And we show our sister haunts, I guess you could call them, or other haunts that we let them. You come through us, let us show you what we can do, and then we get invited to theirs. We just had, like, this past weekend, Dent Schoolhouse in Cincinnati had theirs. Unfortunately, it was raining and cold and just ugly outside, so I don't think many of it. I know some of the younger ones went to the haunt through Dent, but we did not. Me and Jennifer did not. I had to work. I was doing an Amazon route, and Jennifer wasn't really wasn't feeling well on Sunday, so we opted out of going. Um, we'll probably end up going to Face Your Fears when they do theirs, because Face Your Fears is an amazing haunt in Springfield, Ohio. We will do Carnage when they do theirs, of course, because I absolutely loved Carnage last year, and um, I would love to get down to, like, American Horrorplex, but yeah, I mean, there's no reason to badmouth other haunts in your area. Work together, boost the business. There's plenty of customers out there. There's no need to turn this into Coke versus Pepsi with different haunts in the same state or the same area as you. Everybody can get business. But all right, let's take a look and see what's going on in the world of horror movies. I do know Terrifier 3, speaking of Art the Clown, Terrifier 3 is coming out this next Thursday, next Friday, rather. We have tickets for next Thursday to see it. I guess over the weekend they had a screening in I think it was California. But they had a screening over the weekend of Terrifier 3, and 11 people total walked out of the theater during the movie, 9 of which in the first 10 minutes. Apparently, the opening scene of the movie is so intense and gory, it is making people vomit. Um, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see this movie. I do like the Terrifier series so far. And I'm interested to see what they're going to do, especially watching a Christmas horror movie in October. But let's take a look and see what's going on. I know what else is going on. That's what's going on this weekend. Joe Bob's Jamboree is going on, and is it in Vegas again, I think? Jamboree. I know that's going on this weekend. It is at the West Wind Las Vegas Drive-In. Um, so that's an event that's going on this weekend. Hopefully we can see some videos out of that because I love Joe Bob. Joe Bob does an amazing job. Makes movies that aren't really all that good very, very watchable. The first time I ever watched Street Trash was when Joe Bob showed it. And I ended up really kind of enjoying Street Trash. So let's see. Let's see. We got some news. That's another thing here locally. Horrorama Dayton has been running for 27 years. And I guess they lost their theater they were playing in. But they will not be running this year. If you were looking to do Horrorama in Dayton, Ohio, unfortunately, they announced that it will not be running this year. Hopefully, they can find a venue for next year. And they can bring it back because that's such a shame. It's such a shame to let something go away. That's been around for like 27 years. Okay, this one looks funny. Holy crap! A horror movie about a toilet monster will premiere at Screamfest. There's been a few of those actually. Monster, who Raz and the crew over on Tomb of the Terrible. I think they covered that movie and then ended up interviewing the filmmakers. There's Holy Shit Man, a movie. We're gonna do Holy Shit Man on here, because it's dumb enough and it's fun enough to watch. Last time talking to the filmmakers of Holy Shit Man, they were making a sequel, and I haven't seen hide nor hair of it though. So by now, we can safely say that an inanimate object can be the catalyst for an evil horror movie monster, but we can't say we have seen one entirely based around a toilet. Yes, we have. There's also a Japanese zombie movie called I want to say like Zombie Toilet Ass of the Dead or something like that, if I remember right. But there are some low budget gems like Ghoulies 2 and Poultrygeist that have commode scenes. But looking at the trailer for the upcoming Scared Shitless, the movie is called Scared Shitless. They are taking it to the next level, and dare we say, we think this one is a pinch above the rest. Directed by Viviano Caldanelli. I'm butchering this name. The self-funded indie gem is set to make its U.S. debut at Screamfest Horror Film Festival in Los Angeles on October 12th. Scared Shitless follows a blue-collar plumber with a crass sense of humor as he drags Sonny, his germophobic son, on a routine house call to help him overcome his fears. Little do they know, They're about to face a plumber's worst nightmare. A genetically engineered, bloodthirsty creature swimming through the pipes and killing tenants in an increasingly grisly fashion. You know what, guys? Give me a second. Give me 1 second, guys. You're going to love this. We're going to watch the trailer. Let me download it real quick. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment. Make sure it downloads. Yeah. Update later. This might take a second, but we're going to watch the trailer real quick. And it's done. Alrighty, let's see if I can upload it. We can get it uploaded on here, guys. We'll put it on here in a second. Scared shitless trailer. All right, it looks like it's uploading, and come on, it's processing. But let's see. With the help of Night Manager Patricia, this unlikely trio must stop the monster from escaping into the city's water system. And there it is. So let's watch the trailer to Scared Shitless together. I have not seen this either. Let's take a look.
Now, I've worked as a plumber for 34 years. I've seen a whole lot of crazy stuff.
Project X doesn't exist.
Never have I ever seen anything like this shit.
Hey, we need to call the cops!
And tell them what?
Oh, I don't know. How about there's something in the building that's biting off people's arms? Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, she's good.
Sometimes shit happens. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually gonna have to look forward to it. I'm gonna have to look for that movie. That looks great. That looks funny as hell. But yeah. Let's see. Film isn't long. Only run time of 77 minutes. And I am not seeing a release date. It's not a release date because it's going to be shown for the first time at the Screamfest Horror Film Festival in Los Angeles. So if you're in LA and you go into that, you're going to that that convention. Go ahead and check that movie out because that does look funny as hell. What is this shit here? There we go. All right. Moving on. Let's take a look. Let's see. Tobin Bell confirms Saw 6 question regarding his return. I don't want to talk about that. It's David Howard Thornton talks Terrifier 3. I really don't. With that movie coming out. Scream 7 did announce. That's right. Let's talk about this one because Scream 7. They did announce Scream 7's release date. In bare bones press release from Spyglass Entertainment, it was announced today that Scream 7 won't be out theatrically for another year. The 7th chapter in the franchise will drop on February 27th, 2026. This was the announcement posted by director Kevin Williamson and Neve Campbell, who will reprise her role, of course, as Sidney Prescott. Although Courtney Cox is listed as a cast member on IMDb, in a recent interview with Variety, she says she hasn't been cast. I'm not officially signed on, she said. I'm not, but there will be a Scream 7. The script will be written by Guy Busick, who wrote Scream 2022 and Scream 6, while Project X Entertainment's James Vanderbilt, William Sherrick, and Paul Neinstein are producing. Returning to the franchise is Radio Silence, who will serve as executive producers. The horror series had a bumpy few years. First, the drama with Neve Campbell, who was not included in Part 6 because of a salary dispute, and then Melissa Barrera exiting the series, followed by Jenna Ortega, and finally director Christopher Landon jumping ship. It seems everything has been worked out, and even though we will have to wait over a year for a new Scream, it's great news for franchise fans nonetheless. Sure, I mean, it'd be fun for franchise fans. I'm not the biggest Scream fan. I never was, really. So take that as you will. Let's see. We got games. What in the world is going on out there? Sorry, I'm hearing some noises out my window. Don't know if I need to go fuck someone up or not. Alrighty, let's take a look at a couple more websites, and then we'll probably go ahead and take our break and then get into the movie. They did cancel the Chucky TV series. I don't know if anybody's seen that or not. So 3 seasons of Chucky will be enough for them. I think they're still shopping it around for see if somebody else might want it other than USA. But as of right now, USA has canceled it. Okay, the walkouts were in London actually. In London, had the walkouts for Terrifier 3. All right, I think we're gonna cut it off here real quick. The news off here real quick, just because we're gonna get into the movie. It's getting late too. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast. But I want to do one segment real quick. One thing real quick. About a year ago, I've never got to play this yet, but a year ago I bought Trivial Pursuit, the horror movie edition. I'm going to. We'll do. What do you guys think about doing a weekly trivia question? And then eventually I will have prizes to give out for answering questions correctly, because I have a ton of double copies and triple copies of movies in my storage shed, unfortunately, which I need to go through. Um, um, Including a certain movie. Let's see, where is it? A certain movie starring a certain member of the Owlite Network. I want to say at least 2 copies of Slashers Gone Wild. That is a movie we will do here on the podcast, just so Raz can bring his butt on here. I'll do that. I'll do that movie maybe after the Halloween season. But we'll do Slashers Gone Wild and get Raz on here to talk about the movie he's in. But let's see. Let's just pick out a random card here. Once I can get a card out of here, and we'll do a random trivia question. Put the answer in the comments here on the podcast, or in the comments of wherever you're watching it. Don't cheat, though. Don't cheat. Don't be cheating. Let's see. I'm trying to read, see if any of these will be. Here, let's try to get one that's not so hard. Some of these are asking about music directors and things like that. That doesn't interest me. So let's see. All right, here we go. I'm not. This is not the official question, but this is hilarious. What actor played Patrick Bateman in American Psycho? That's something people shouldn't have to look up. If you know the answer, put it in the comments. That's not going to be the official question. Not doing a giveaway yet. We'll see how well this goes, and then maybe after a while, like I said, I know I've got doubles of movies and some movies that I'm probably never going to watch. Lying around that I can give out as a prize. Maybe talk to Raz or Fred or somebody at the haunt. Maybe give out some haunted house tickets or something like that. Local haunted tickets. We'll figure something. Maybe a guest shot on one of the podcasts. Never know. So, all right, guys. Here's the official question. For those who didn't know, Patrick Bateman was, of course, played by Christian Bale. Batman, Bruce Wayne Batman from the Dark Knight trilogy. So this is the official question. If you know the answer to the question, again, put it in the comments live here on the podcast. Don't cheat though. Do not go look it up on Google or put it in the comments on any of the social media sites or YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you're watching the podcast tonight. So the official question is, in the final scene of Cabin in the Woods from 2012, what appendage of one of the evil gods emerges from the floor of the temple? Again, in the final scene of Cabin in the Woods from 2012, what appendage of one of the evil gods emerges from the floor of the temple? This kind of is an easy one. Even guessing, people might get it. But again, if you know the answer, put it in the comments. Again, we'll do one of these. We'll do one of these questions. Pardon me. We'll do one of these questions every week, and eventually, I'll try to get some prizes to send out. Especially with the more viewers, more listeners we get. And since it's probably going to end up being DVDs or something like that, I'll even cover the shipping because media mail ain't but $3 to $4. So, all right, guys, we've been going for about an hour now. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into All Hallows Eve, the debut of Art the Clown. We'll be right back.
Greetings and Shabibans. We are the Retro Reductibus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductibus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh. And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Octopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. I, of course, am your host, Sewer Dweller. And tonight, we are going to deep dive All Hallows Eve. This is, again, the debut of Art the Clown. Art has become very popular over the past few years, especially after Terrifier 2, and how gory and bloody that movie was, and how great it was, too. It was such a good movie. I do have tickets to go see Terrifier 3 next week, so I'm looking forward to that. This is the feature film debut of Art the Clown, not the debut. Which, I mean, I guess you could say that too, because he debuted in it. Damien Leone created Art and debuted him in a short film called The Terrifier. And that is included in this one. This is kind of an anthology movie, but all the movies do tie, all the short stories tie together very nicely, actually. We'll talk about in the review and things like that. But All Hallows Eve came out in 2013, and it stars Katie McGuire as Sarah, the babysitter. Let's see, she was actually in Terrifier 1 and 2 as Monica Brown. So she has been in both Terrifier movies. She's, I mean, not done anything too major outside of the Terrifier movies. Going through her, she was in one episode of Blue Bloods, All Hallows Eve, of course. Nothing, like I said, nothing that stands out. One episode of As the World Turns. One episode of Sex in the City back in 2001. So yeah, nothing too major, but she plays, like I said, she plays Sarah, the babysitter, in this one in All Hallows Eve. We have Catherine A. Callahan, who plays Caroline. She's in one of the shorts. Couple episodes of First Wives Club. 5 episodes of Billions. Just going through again. Nothing major. Nothing that really stands out. Marie Macer as the costume designer. She is in the final segment. Kayla Leanne as Casey. Mike Gianelli plays Art the Clown in this. David Howard, this is before David Howard Thornton took the role and made it his. He does have a different look than in Terrifier. It's a little more obvious that it's a mask in this one, versus where Terrifier actually looks like it's his face. But Mike Gianelli plays Art the Clown. The only thing he's done is Art the Clown. In All Hallows Eve, the Terrifier, the original short from 2011, and in the Ninth Circle from 2008, Art. He played Art the Clown. The Ninth Circle, I think, is the actual debut, the short of Art the Clown. And looking at it now, yes. And I believe this was actually included in it too. Ooh. Yeah, this was included in it. So yeah, they're both included. So yeah, Mike Gianelli playing Art the Clown, Sidney Freehofer as Tia, Cole Mathewson as Timmy. Those are the children. Those are the kids that Sarah is babysitting. Michael Schmiel plays a gas station attendant. 5 episodes of The American West as Ike Clanton. He was in Luke Cage as a cameraman, an episode of American Genius, Frankenstein versus the Mummy. The Men Who Built America. In 4 episodes, he played William Vanderbilt. Martha Marcy May Marlene. He's uncredited for that one though, apparently, but he's been in a few pretty big things. Really, nobody else stands out. Damien Leone, of course, is the director. He would go on to direct all 3 Terrifier movies, as well as, let's take a look. What else has he directed? He's done special effects and makeup, but he's had 8 directing credits: Terrifier 1, 2, and 3, Frankenstein versus the Mummy, All Hallows Eve, and then the 2 shorts, Terrifier and the Ninth Circle. We'll get into the trivia in that later on if there is any. I remember this movie coming out at Blockbuster, and that's when I watched it. I rented it for free, and I'm not gonna lie. The first time I watched this movie, I did not care for it. We'll go through here in a little bit. Once we get through the movie, of course, we will go back in and I'll give you my review on it. But it came out in 2013. I want to say it was a straight to DVD release. Yeah, we'll talk about a lot of this later. So let's go ahead and just jump on in. The movie opens up on a house with it's got some cheap Halloween decorations, just the windows decorated. We cut inside where you see 2 children, and they look to be preteens, but I think they say one of them's 10. I think the little girl, Tia, is 10. They don't really say how old the boy is, how old Timmy is. But they're watching TV, and it shows the TV, and it's basically they're watching Night of the Living Dead, and it's the beginning scene where Barbara is starts running from the zombies. There's a reason many movies use that, because it's a classic film. Everybody knows it when they see it, and it is public domain to use. So you can put it in your movie. You can put a couple of scenes in your movie and not be sued. So the babysitter buzz killer, I call her Sarah. For the first little bit, the babysitter, I call her the babysitter because again, they don't tell you really the name till later in the movie. But babysitter Buzzkill comes in and shuts the movie off so they can carve pumpkins. Because apparently you can't watch a legendary horror movie, like one of the greatest zombie movies of all time, while carving a pumpkin on Halloween night. Kids argue a bit as the boy says he basically does the whole, "Hey, I was watching that." The babysitter basically puts Night of the Living Dead back on and tells the other girl, and tells Tia to put her phone down and go wash her face. Tia gives a bit of attitude and asks when her parents will be home. Babysitter says around 1 a.m., but hopefully sooner. The boy, Timmy, gets excited thinking he can stay up till 1, and Miss Buzzkill says, "Yeah, right, bedtime's 11," and tells him to stop eating all that candy or he'll be awake for a week. Remember when we did that growing up? It wasn't that we'll be awake for a week. It'll be your fucking stomach is going to hurt like hell if you don't stop eating that goddamn candy. And then for some reason, I see the making of a new Beastie Boys song forming right in front of me. Basically, I think I was thinking of We Have the Right, to Party. But now that I'm thinking, I think it's more along the lines of D. Snyder and Twisted Sister of We're Not Gonna Take It. She tells the kids that their parents owe her big, and the sister tells the babies. Tia tells Sarah that she can slap Timmy if she wanted to, and that she won't tell. The baby and Sarah kind of considered it because he is an insufferable little shit. Hold on 1 second, guys. Ooh, sorry about that. Had to cough. And then I realized it's 10:15 on Halloween night, and they are just now going to carve the pumpkins, thus defeating the entire purpose of carving a pumpkin on Halloween. Tia tells Timmy to get the hell up, and Timmy says he's still busy counting his candy. Again, trick or treat is over. The kid has bed. These kids have bed in 45 minutes, and they have not. This really bothered me that they have not carved a pumpkin, and it's 10:30 at night almost on Halloween night. What's the point at this point? What is the point of carving the pumpkin? I put down worst Halloween ever. Now Tia asks if they could just bury Timmy in the backyard and say they lost him trick or treating. That got dark real quick. Timmy dumps out his sack, and all of a sudden, an old, I don't know if you remember the old black clamshell VHS cases drops out. Sarah asks asks Timmy where he got it and who gave it to him. Timmy doesn't remember who put it in the bag. And I can see that because when we were trick or treating growing up, did we really pay attention to who gave us what? Except for the full size candy bars, you always remembered who gave you the full size candy bars. The sitter opens the case, or Sarah opens the case, and when Tia asks what's on it, Tia looks and goes, and Sarah goes nothing while she's looking at the bag and looking at the whole tape up. There's nothing written on it. The boy asks to watch it, and Sarah wisely says, "Not a chance in hell." All my Gen Xers and millennials who watched VHSs growing up, we all know better that if we find a blank VHS tape just anywhere, we know not to show that to a kid before we look at it first. And all my Gen Xers and all my fellow Gen Xers and all my millennial friends, we know why. You look at that tape before you show it to kids. Timmy asks if they can watch it, and when Timmy asks why, she says because she doesn't know what's on it. Timmy snatches it and says, "Well, only one way to find out." And we learn in 2013 that this house conveniently still has a VHS player on top of the television. That kind of blew me away too, because 2013, I think it's safe to say, the VHSs were a thing of the past in 2013. Now, I still have a VHS player in 2024 because I'm a huge horror movie nerd and I have a lot of VHS tapes of old horror movies. And the other thing that blew my mind is that a 10-year-old kid in 2013 knew how to use it. How to use the VHS player, which impressed me more than anything. Timmy goes to put the tape in, and Sarah tells him to stop while Tia calls him a little shit. Let me reiterate, this kid is an insufferable little shit. Sarah takes the tape, and Timmy tells her that it's his tape and he can do whatever he wants with it. Sarah reminds him who is in charge, and tells him that tells Timmy that he can let his parents watch it with him. Timmy doesn't want to wait till tomorrow to watch it and wants a vote. Timmy votes yes, and Tia votes yes, as well, to the dismay of the sitter of Sarah. 2-1, the kids win. Sarah makes the point we're all thinking, and that is that a pervert could have put this in the bag for him to find. Timmy says it's probably just a horror movie, and Tia says it's probably nothing worse than they see on the internet every day. Sarah just looks at her and goes, "You're 10. What the hell are you looking at on the internet?" But peer pressure wins out as Timmy says they won't make her carve the pumpkin at 10:15 on Halloween night after trick-or-treating is already over. She agrees, but makes the kids leave the room first so she can see what's on it. Tia doesn't like that and says that, and she drops a hard R for retarded. She says that is retarded. Tia, again, who is supposed to be 10, is almost as tall as Sarah, which makes me question why they didn't just put her real age as part of this. The ages of the kids really don't matter, except that they're being babysat. This girl is obviously over the age of 10. I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to say that. The kids stand in the hallway as the tape begins with some static. She tells Timmy he may have gotten hosed as all of a sudden an abandoned mental asylum comes into view. Starts off in black and white, but gets to full color and HD imagery as it clears up, and it amazed me that a VHS tape is of this quality. So the kids get tired of waiting and walk back into the room. Sarah asks, "What the hell?" as we see a hook banging against the cement. And then we get our first image of the newest member of the slasher club, Art the Clown. We see some more creatures as we get a close-up of Art without the hat on, and a creature with some very sharp teeth. Timmy says, "See, just a scary movie." The kids get comfy to start watching the movie. We keep going as a woman enters the waiting room to what I thought was the asylum, but in reality, it was actually the waiting room for the train. It's a waiting room in a train station. Sarah again gives into peer pressure and says if it gets to be too much, she's turning it off. Back to the movie where we see a drunk couple in costumes stumble in, and they ask the woman in the waiting room what time the train comes. And the drunk woman asks, I started calling this lady a bookworm because they don't give her name. The drunk woman asks if the bookworm has a cigarette, which of course she doesn't. The drunk woman says Happy Halloween and drags her man away by the noose that is around his neck. Bookworm goes back to her book as we hear that the train has been delayed. She looks up and Art the Clown is sitting across from her, smiling with a trash bag. She starts to get a little uncomfortable, which is understandable because I'm waiting in a train waiting station and there's a fucking clown sitting across from me, smiling. And imagine a clown that looks like Art the Clown sitting across from you, just smiling at you. I'm punching a motherfucker. We go back to the house. We go back to the babysitter and the kids, and Tia is starts to get a bit uncomfortable while Timmy is watching with glee, like he's smiling, sitting up close to the TV, kind of like we used to do with cartoons back in the day. Back to the movie. Sorry. Back to the movie, and Art goes into his bag, and he takes out a clown horn. You know the clown. You know which one I'm talking about, like the little bicycle horns. He squeezes it, and of course, it makes the typical clown horn noise, and it scares the woman. He does it over and over again until the woman finally loses her shit and tells him to stop. He gets that shot, and he gets the shocked look. You know the look I'm talking about, the one where his lips go into the shape of an O, like oh, and then of course it leads to the smile. And the smile isn't as good as David Howard Thornton's creepy ass smile is, but it's still pretty creepy. Um, what the hell is this? Damn antivirus. Art picks up his bag, walks over, and sits right next to the very nervous woman, who is still trying to read from her book. Art offers her a flower. We cut back to the babysitter and the kids, and Timmy is still memorized with the television, while Sarah seems like she realizes this was maybe a bad idea. So Art offers the book flower, or the bookworm the flower again, and the bookworm finally takes it. Art starts laughing silently and pointing as the woman looks at the flower, where it looks like it's like a bee trying to escape it or something. She screams and stands up and tries to run away, but Art grabs her by the arm and injects something basically injects her with a syringe. You know, he didn't even alcohol that area first. She's gonna get an infection. She starts to go out, and we see a few brief images, and then we finally see Art the Clown with some glowing eyes, waving gleefully as she finally succumbs to the drugs and the syringe. We cut back to the house where Sarah and Tia are now hiding their eyes, and Timmy is still mesmerized and smiling. The bookworm comes to, and she's chained to the ground by her neck. She screams for help as we hear the train a coming. She hears a noise behind her, and there are two more females that are also chained the same way that she is. One girl tells Bookworm to stop screaming and that this is where he keeps them. There used to be three of them, but the third one was dragged down a tunnel. They are pulling them down by their chains one at a time. Bookworm asks why they aren't trying to escape, and the girl tells her that they've tried everything. Whew, sorry, guys. My throat is still pretty sore from the weekend. The bookworm vomits in the corner as the other two look on. She asks why he's keeping them there, and why he doesn't just kill them already. I mean, what's the rush, right? She begs someone to let them go. The other woman who wasn't talking a second ago goes to comfort her, and Bookworm says she doesn't want to die. And Red Shirt, the woman who did the talking, basically the first one who was doing all the talking, loses her fucking mind and just starts screaming and telling her to shut up, and that she can't, and then basically she can't do this anymore. And yeah, Brown Shirt learns that Bookworm's name is now Casey. Her name, Brown Shirt, is Sarah. And now we have two people in the movie with the same name. Being as this, the one we're watching now, I believe, is the original is the original God, what do you call it? Film. The original film, the original short, The Ninth Circle, I think is what it was called. I'm trying to go through here it is right here. Hold on. Yes, The Ninth Circle. I think that's what we're watching for the first story. So now we know why there's two Sarahs, although I would have changed, when I realized it, I would have changed the babysitter's name to Emily or something like that. And that the other woman, the first woman who was doing the talking down there, her name is Kristen. Casey says there has to be a way out. Kristen asks if she didn't think they've already tried. Casey says they need to go down that tunnel. And Kristen basically just is like, are you fucking insane? She tells Casey that she didn't see what happened to that other girl, but her and Sarah did. That apparently the other girl was dragged down that tunnel and was screaming for her life. Casey says there are 3 of them now. And Kristen makes a great point because they don't know how many people. They kind of don't know how many people are actually down there. So it's that famous Ron White joke where I knew how many they would. I don't know how many it would have taken for them to whip my ass, but I knew how many they was going to use. Well, they don't know how many they going to use. Casey asks her what they should do then, and Kristen pretty much says, take the wait and... Kristen had basically pretty much says, take the wait and see approach and hope for the best. Sarah agrees with Casey and says there's no other way. Kristen tells them that they know she's right. Casey says don't listen to her, she's already dead. And who the fuck made Casey the boss? Sarah goes to talk Kristen into going down the tunnel, but at that point, Art decides to help a girl out, and he starts dragging Sarah down the tunnel. It was a pretty good jump scare. We see the silhouette of something as Sarah is now gone. Casey keeps trying to talk Kristen into going down the tunnel, and Casey says she can't stay here anymore. And I'm just like, bitch, you've been here 5 minutes. Kristen finally agrees to go down the tunnel as the pair gets up to walk, and we cut to black. We come back to the women walking down a dark room with sewage pipes on the wall, and Kristen steps on some bones. Now ask me if she reacted properly to seeing just bones. I don't believe she did. They find where the other end of their chains are locked, and Casey tries to pull it like she's the fucking Hulk. And Kristen points out a rock to help break the lock. When from behind, a large deformed man whose skin is kind of melting off of his face appears with another jump scare. He grunts and grabs Kristen as we see Sarah and Tia hide their eyes again. The monster mounts Kristen, rears back with the cleaver, and cuts her fucking arm off. He continues hacking at Kristen as Casey tries to break the lock. He swings a couple of more times at Casey, hitting the chain, freeing her. She runs down a hall and into a homeless-looking fella pushing a cart. She begs him for help, and he tells him there is something down here. He smiles at her, and she looks into the shopping cart, which is full of body parts. She looks back at him, and his face has now morphed into what could only be described as Skeletor's face and a beanie. We hear some more screaming, and we get a flash, and Casey is now tied up. She is kicking and trying to get away, but a bunch of deformed individuals in hoods and robes are surrounding her. Some don't have faces, some have large teeth. She looks up to a man whose face is shaped like an old plague mask. We cut to a hag turning a spoon over a cauldron, and she's got a total of 3 teeth. We cut to another woman who looks pregnant as the cloaked figure approaches her. They place a goblet of blood at her feet and start teasing her with a knife before cutting into her stomach and removing the child. Blood splatters into the goblet as the person with the smiley mask takes the goblet to another creature who drinks it. Casey is still tired. I'm assuming I wrote tired. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Casey is still tied to the board as the figure approaches. We get a few times to see Sarah looking disturbed and Timmy looking on in awe. But they rip open Casey's shirt to reveal her bra, and she looks up a man that looks like a demon mounts her and impregnates her. The story concludes with Art the Clown squeezing the clown horn. We cut back to the house where Sarah has decided it's now time to to cut this shit off. She says it's too violent for them to be watching, and Timmy, again, as the insufferable little shit he is, says he's seen way worse, and Sarah tells him that then he should be punished because he's too young to be watching a baby being cut out of someone's stomach. And I agree. She tells him it's bedtime, and Timmy can't believe it's 11 already. Like, motherfucker, it was just 10:15. The kids both say they like the clown the best, and Sarah lets them know she's coming up to check on them in 10 minutes and that they had better be in bed. Sarah goes to eject the tape from the machine and places it back into the clamshell. She starts cleaning up Timmy's candy when her phone rings, and it's just a friend of hers checking on her because she's babysitting on Halloween night. She tells her how Timmy got a VHS tape in his candy. The friend thinks it's twisted, and Sarah tells her, you should see what's on it. Sarah tells her it's a fucked up short film with a clown and a devil raping this woman. The friend seems a bit turned on by this, so Sarah asks what kind of sick bastard puts that into a kid's bag. The friend says probably someone who still lives in their parents' garage. Hold on. Lost my place. I apologize, guys. She tells Sarah not to sweat it because those kids have probably seen way worse. We cut to the bathroom where the kids are fighting over the sink as Tia tries to wipe the makeup off her face and Timmy is trying to brush his teeth. As they're brushing their teeth in the same bathroom, Timmy's brushing his teeth, Tia's washing her face. And Timmy says, all right, don't say I didn't warn you. Basically, they start arguing over the sink and spits in Tia's hair. Sarah goes to admonish the kids and pretty much just threatens to call their parents. All of a sudden, something hits the window, and Sarah invites her friend to go get a drink. And after she's done babysitting, she's looking out the window, checking to see what's hitting the house. Something else hits the back door, so of course she goes to check what's out there, and she slowly opens the blinds, and in a jump scare, an egg hits the glass. Turns out to just be some kid's egg in the house. We cut upstairs where the kids are now jumping into bed. We focus in on Tia brushing her hair when there's when there's all of a sudden a sound that comes out of the closet. She stares at it for a moment, and we cut to Timmy getting in bed. Sarah sets his bag of candy on his dresser, and Timmy asks if the tape is in the sack. And Sarah tells him no. And Timmy asks why he can't have it. He tells her he doesn't know why she's making such a big deal of this, anyways. When his parents will just give him the tape in the morning, and she basically tells him, "Well, the quicker you go to sleep, the quicker you get your tape." Tell her, and he tells her he tells her she sucks and goes to Dreamland. We go back to Tia, who is still staring at her closet door, which starts to move slightly. Tia has the door and starts to slowly open it. Another jump scare as Sarah knocks on the bedroom door and tells Tia it's bedtime. Okay, so Tia now walks over to the bed, leaving the closet door wide open. So you think somebody's in this closet and you just leave it open? No. Sarah asks if she had a good Halloween with no pumpkin. And she says yes. Tia asks if Sarah thinks the clown in the video was real, and Sarah tells her that stuff like demons, vampires, and werewolves don't actually exist. Um, yeah, demons. Sarah tells her that stuff like demons, vampires, and werewolves don't actually exist. Tia makes a really good point, though, by pretty much saying that the clown on the television isn't really one of those things. He was just a man in a costume. Who could actually exist like a serial killer. Sarah wants to know, how the hell does Tia know about serial killers? And takes the old man yelling at a crowd path and says, it's all the internet she's been reading. Sarah tells her even if he did exist, she wouldn't let him do anything to Tia. Me thinks this scenario may play out later on. Tia asks to leave the lamp on, and Sarah leaves the room so the kid can sleep. We still focus in on that closet door again as we cut to the living room. In the living room, Sarah is continues watching Night of the Living Dead. They are at the scene where Harry has locked Helen and their daughter in the garage or in the basement of the house. She's drinking wine and watching the classic zombie movie. They focus on the VHS tape as Sarah is wondering if she should watch it. We cut to Timmy, who is trying to go to sleep in his bed when all of a sudden his doorknob turns and starts to slowly open. And it turns out to be Tia, who is kind of afraid to sleep by herself now after watching that video. Timmy makes fun of her a little bit, but ends up letting his sister sleep in his bed. She tells him not to hog all the blankets, and he pretty much tells her, and he's pretty much like, no, fuck off. These are my blankets. We cut back downstairs where Night of the Living Dead is now ending, as as the reporter saying. Sarah has decided to watch the rest of the tape with her glass of wine. So the second tape, or the second segment, scene, whatever you want to call it, opens up on the exterior of a house. And we cut inside where a woman is bragging to her friend that they saw a real life deer on their property. Sorry, I got to keep muting, guys, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear me coughing or drinking water. So basically, she's bragging that they saw a deer on their property. It becomes pretty obvious that she's from like New York City or one of these big cities and moved to Upper New York or what is it, Upstate New York, where there's more farmland than there is sirens. She's talking about the differences of the city and where they live now. We do learn her name is Caroline and her husband is a painter. She tells her friend that she wishes someone would buy her husband's latest painting because it gives her the heebie-jeebies. It gives her the creeps, basically. She tells her friend that it's just a face, but she doesn't even like being in the same room as that thing. Caroline tells her friend that she doesn't even remember painting it. I guess he went into a trance one night, and when he woke up, all he could see was this face. She hangs up with her friend and stares at a cloth-covered painting. We do not get to see the painting as Caroline walks out of the room, so take a guess who's on the painting. We do cut to the kitchen though, where Caroline is pouring herself some coffee in a clip light. Starts to malfunction. Apparently, they do not have electricity in their kitchen. All of a sudden, we see a bright light come flying towards the house, and kind of explodes in midair. And it kind of scares Caroline. She goes and grabs a flashlight and makes her way to the basement, where she finds the breaker and hits it, but no use. The power is blown. We now know why she's by herself because her husband hasn't come downstairs. Isn't that true? Um, she tries her phone and there is no signal. We hear some noises upstairs, and instead of investigating, Caroline does the smart thing and leaves the fucking house. However, as she tries to start her car out of course it doesn't start. She is freaking out a little bit, telling herself it was just a meteor. Behind her, we can see a flashing light. Amongst the house, or against the house, Caroline is now back inside the house, um, searching for the source of the light. We get yet another jump scare as her phone rings, and it's her husband John asking if she's all right since he couldn't get through the house line. Um, she tells him she thought it was a plane or copter, but it was glowing and getting closer. Um, he tells her to call the police and whatever she does, stay in the house. She tells him she thinks somebody may be in the house. Um, he tells her to calm down, and that just spooked. Or she's just spooked. Meanwhile, behind her, a white sheet starts to rise up from the ground. Um, John tells her to hang up and call the police, and then call him right back. She tells him she's scared and what happens if she can't get a hold of him again. He tells her worst case scenario to go to a local bar in town and wait there until he gets home. Um, but she tries to explain to him that her car's dead, and he asks, "What does she mean the car's dead?" She tells him there's something strange going on. John starts to break up as her phone dies again. Um, We pan to the left, and where there was something rising in a sheet, there is nothing there now. We pan back to Sarah, finishing off her wine, and then immediately cut back to the tape. On the tape, Caroline is walking through the house with her flashlight and looking out the window. She sees a white sheet lying on the floor and grabs a butcher knife from a box. Caroline approaches the sheet, and the music stops and it gets deathly quiet as we wait for a jump scare. However, all we get is something in the distance. The camera slowly follows the flashlight as she shines it across the room until she sees something weird and pans up to see there's like a tank, an ugly head, and what looks like it looks like an alien mask, kind of like what you think like a gray or one of the aliens would look like. Um, Except it's a mask, not a head. Um, it moves very creepily and starts to chase Caroline through the house. Another one appears. I put another one appears in front of her, but no, it's the same one. He appears in front of her, and she stabs at it, cutting the tubes. She trips going up the stairs, and it grabs her foot and is holding nervously. It's holding a very long time. I'm sorry, very long needle. Before it can penetrate her leg with it, she kicks his mask off. The alien creepily makes its way through the house, searching for her, and she's hiding in the bathroom. Some very intense music plays as she again tries to call John or the police. Back to the alien. Back to the alien, still searching for the house for her. It um it gets a little intense as the alien hits a button on its vest, and that plays very loud sound that hurts Caroline's ears. Um, Caroline, let's see, what am I? The sound hurts Caroline's ears. Caroline screams, and the alien hears her. Now Caroline's nose is bleeding, and the floorboards creak as the alien slowly makes its way upstairs, accused. Caroline realizes she's bleeding as the door gets kicked open and the alien comes struggling inside. The struggle as the alien holds a hand out in front of that place is it's stuff for me. I don't know what the hell I just said. Sorry, guys, it's getting late. The struggle as the alien holds a hand out that has a tentacle, like the alien, it has a tentacle on it. Coming out of it. In the struggle, Caroline manages to hit. Basically, she hits him, and one of the tubes gets pulled out, and it kind of disconnects its version of oxygen. Um, Basically, it's almost got an oxygen tank on its back, like what we would use if we went to space. And she knocks a tube out, and he starts panicking and falling down and all that good stuff. Struggles to breathe as Caroline escapes into the house. The alien reconnects its source of air, and we cut outside before cutting back inside to see the alien still searching for Caroline. We see Caroline has found a crawl space under the stairs to hide in. The music has stopped again, making this scene a lot creepier. Literally, all you can hear is the alien's breathing apparatus, and it almost sounds like Vader, but it's not. But the alien starts to search some of Caroline's boxes when suddenly her phone goes off, giving her away her position. It's John, and he's screaming her name, telling her to call the cop, that the cops are on the way. The alien pops the door open and snatches her by the ankles. Keeps pulling at her ankles as she grabs the first thing she can, which is the sheet covering up John's painting. The sheet comes off to reveal the faces actually of Art the Clown. The screaming stops and we don't get to see what happened as Sarah cuts the tape off before anything good happens. Sarah grabs her phone and looks to her left, then does a double take and sees the alien from the tape's face quickly disappear. Um, I actually had to pause the video to see what it was. Sarah goes to inspect it, thinking it was the kids, and she walks up. Basically, it's the alien. It's like the alien is what Sarah saw. So she walks upstairs and sees that Timmy is in bed, but not really asleep. He tells her they were in bed. She tells him to go to sleep, and he says we were in bed. She calls him a liar before asking Tia what she's doing in Timmy's bedroom. Timmy tells her she had a nightmare, and Tia says that she didn't have a nightmare, but she heard a noise, and asks Sarah to check the noise. Sarah asks where the noise came from, and Tia tells her that it came from her closet. Sarah asks if she always hears noises in her closet, and Timmy says, yeah. Sarah tells them that their parents will be home soon and that they need to get to bed. Timmy tells her they could if she would stop checking in on them every 5 minutes. And Sarah asks what he means. Timmy tells her he heard her creeping outside the door and turning the handle. Sarah sees the door. So basically, she tells him to go to bed and she goes outside. She goes to the next room. Sarah sees the door to Tia's room is close, so she goes to inspect it, and she also notices the door to a closet is also open. And she heard a couple of sounds coming from it and decides she's been watching too many scary movies. The door moves a little as she returns downstairs in front of the television. Sarah is staring at the television, trying to decide whether to keep watching the tape or not. It's obvious that she's been spooked, and she decides to keep watching. The next segment opens up on an old curvy road and a vehicle traveling towards the screen. There's a creepy Halloween song playing on the radio as the woman driving drinks some coffee and looks at some directions. She sees a last chance for a gasoline sign, or last chance for a gasoline sign, and looks at her gauge and is surprised to see that it's on empty. She pulls up to a pump and doesn't see anyone, so she blares her horn. She pulls up to the pump and she doesn't see anybody, so she blows her horn. Apparently, she thinks this is a full service station. She gets out of the car and knocks on the door of the gas station in general. Like, yeah. We hear a large noise and see Art the Clown go running as if he was pushed. A man is following him, asking if he's out of his mind. Art shakes his head yes. Apparently, he has pissed everyone off. Apparently, Art has pissed everywhere and wiped shit on the walls. The attendant tells Art he's going to give him 10 seconds to beat it before he calls the cops. Art looks seriously at the guy before looking to the right at the girl in the car. The attendant puts her name up. or the attendant tells him he means it. Art picks up his trash bags. Um, the attendant fills up her car and she asks if that guy really messed up his bathroom. He tells her yes, and that he's not cleaning up after someone else's shit. She asks what if he comes back, and the attendant tells her that he's got plenty of blunt objects around, and that he should have broken his fucking legs. The final segment shot is basically the whole final segment is shot grindhouse style. Um, she tells the attendant that she's lost and heading to New York, and he offers her directions back to the interstate. She explains that she's a costume designer on indie films, nothing he's ever heard of. He writes the directions down on a piece of paper and goes. Yeah. He writes the directions down to get back to the interstate, and they hear a big bang, and the attendant tells her that he'll be right back. In horror movies, we all know that when you say, "I'll be right back," you're probably not coming back. You're toast. I guess it's been a while, as she has decided to go searching the station for the attendant that she's already paid and could have just gotten her fucking car and left. She opens the door to Art the Clown sawing away at the guy's fucking neck with a hacksaw. She freaks out and runs as Art completes the job and holds his head up. She gets into her car and speeds off. As she calls the police, she keeps looking behind her as if Art is chasing her on foot. But he didn't have a car, so yeah. Her phone cuts off before she can tell them where the murder is, and now we see Art standing on the side of the road with a sign that says circus waving at her. She freaks out a lot more and looks down, and apparently she drives a hybrid because her battery is now low. She veers into oncoming traffic and almost hits a van. She swerves and misses it and slides to a stop. She looks behind her and sees nothing. The music has stopped again. The music has stopped again, so I think something is coming up. She keeps telling herself it can't be real. It can't be real. It can't be real. Then we get the jump scare as a bloody Art the Clown appears at her window trying to get in, and she speeds off, and we can hear some creepy circus music. In front of her, she sees a vehicle with its flashers on, and the woman face down on the steering wheel. The woman pulls the driver's head off the wheel, pulls it back, and she sees there is no face and no hands. The costume designer runs back to her car, freaking the hell out. She picks up her phone, calling a random number. She tells the person on the other line to call the cops. She's been given her 2 weeks' notice. She called the cops and gives her location, and that someone is trying to kill her. Out of nowhere, Art appears in the back seat and pulls a plastic bag over her head. And they start fighting, They struggle as he tries to suffocate her, but she is a smart one as she actually ends up ripping a hole in the plastic. She slams on the brakes, throwing Art into the windshield, stunning him for a moment. She hops out of the car and makes a run for it, leaving her door wide open, making it significantly easier for Art the Clown to catch her. She's running down the road and stops at a tree, and then she looks up and sees a barn. She decides to hide inside the barn, which wouldn't be the worst idea. She even bars the door. She hears Art outside though and goes to grab the bar as she sees it kind of lifts his stuff up early. Grabs the bar and she sees it lift a bit. The door stops moving and it's quiet again. She backs up against the brick wall and as ominous music plays. We cut ahead a bit and she's been sleeping for a little while. She's sleeping against the wall, kind of like with her head, like sitting with her knees up to her chest, her head buried in it. We see a leaf start to move, and then Art's fucking hand comes up from the ground, zombie style. She finally wakes up and looks looks at Art's ugly ass face as he's climbing out of the ground. She removes the bar, but the door does not open. Art catches up to her and just starts whipping that ass with a chain. Turns out he did tie a couple things to it, like a scalpel or things like that. To the chain. He hits her in the face with it, and it cuts her. He stops swinging the chain long enough for us to see that it has a sharp instruments on it, like a syringe, a scalpel, knives, and a few other things. One of the scalpels falls to the ground as he inspects the chain. The designer sees this, grabs the scalpel, and stabs him right in the fucking eye with it. She grabs the knife off the chain and stabs Art in the back with it, killing him. Although they keep showing the body, that's a no-no. She stabs Art in the back with it. She stands there holding her wounds and finally decides leaving the barn might be a good idea. We cut outside where the woman has already reached the road and she starts to flag down a car. There's a young man in the car and he starts asking if she's okay, if she's been in an accident. We cut back inside the barn where we see now Art has risen. She tells the guy in the car that some guy in a clown suit, in a clown costume, is trying to kill her, and he asks a normal question of, is this a Halloween prank? He tells her there's a police station a few miles ahead, and he's going to take her there. All of a sudden, there's a vehicle behind him that pops up, blaring their horn at him. The car pulls up beside him. She screams at him to floor it, and Art the Clown smiles and pulls out a fucking gun. Art the Clown with a gun, ladies and gentlemen. Art aims and shoots the driver square in the head, killing him. Blood goes pouring out of his head as the car veers off the road and hits a tree. And that is a gnarly looking gunshot wound. We cut to Sarah looking uncomfortable and then back to the film. The costume designer is tied to a medical table beside some very unsanitary looking medical supplies that have blood and they kind of have like guts and different body parts on them still. Um, medic. Yeah, that did already read that. Okay. She looks to her left, and there's Art laughing silently with his fucked up eye. She leans down, and he's carved. She looks down, and he's carved the word "pig" on her torso. He's also used the word "slut" and "cunt" on her body as well. We see that her hands, legs, and breasts have all been cut off. However, we get a full view of the entire torso, and it is anatomically correct, if you will. It has a vagina. This really bothers Sarah as she quickly shuts the tape off. But the tape keeps playing and is staticky through the scene where it's basically replaying the scene where he's cutting the guy's head off. All of a sudden, the phone rings, and the woman from the tape calling her from her vehicle. It's calling her from her vehicle is the exact scene from the segment where she's calling for help. So basically, Sarah's getting a call from the fashion designer who was on the road trying to get away that she just watched on television. The television pops back on and by itself, and we hear a woman crying in it. Then the image of a boiler room comes into view, and Art pops out from one of the pillars, staring at the community. But pops out from one of the pillars, staring at the camera. He struts all the way to the screen and does the mime wall trick on it. He looks up at Sarah and basically does the mime wall trick where, putting their hands on the thing like they're trapped in a box, except it's against the TV set. He looks up at Sarah and waves from the inside of the TV. He starts to laugh and bang on the screen as if he's not affected. He starts to laugh, bang on as if he's trying to escape. Then we briefly see Sarah inside the television set. We see the living room on the television now, and Art the Clown is sitting behind her on the couch. Sarah turns around, and he's not there. He squeezes his clown horn, and Sarah starts to freak out, trying to eject the tape to no avail. Art starts to walk up behind her, and finally, Art starts to walk up behind her, and just before he grabs her, the tape ejects, and she smashes it. Art disappears, but there's a scream from upstairs. Sarah goes running and sees a blood-covered Art laughing. So where is it? Sorry, I lost my place, guys. Sees a blood-covered Art laughing at the top of the stairs, and he's basically pointing at the room that the kids are in, and then he points back at Sarah. Then Art disappears, and Sarah goes running into the room to find the severed heads of both Tia and Timmy laying on the bed. She screams bloody murder, and we fade to black. That is All Hallows Eve. That was a great ending, in all honesty. I love the ending of the movie. When I used to babysit kids when I was growing up, I used to have that damn nightmare too that somebody was in the house. But just to walk in and see the severed heads of the bodies and that, yeah, that's pretty terrifying. honestly. So let's look at some trivia. The first and third short films on the VHS tape are actually the old shorts made by director Damien Leone years ago, titled The Ninth Circle and Terrifier, respectively. Producer Jesse Baggett encouraged Leone to make this anthology and include Terrifier together with the short movies from the other directors. Leone thought this would be a good opportunity to create a feature film centered around Art the Clown and make audiences more familiar with the character, so he convinced Baggett to let him direct all of the segments. Um, um, the second story was filmed at an abandoned house. The alien in the second story was originally going to be a puppet, but when the puppet didn't work, it was replaced by the man in the suit instead, and I believe that was actually a much better idea. Um, yeah, I knew about that one. So let's see. Um, the budget for the movie was an estimated $500,000. Was put out by Ruthless Pictures. Filming locations: Seaview Hospital, Staten Island, New York City, New York. Um, it is on Tubi. That's where I found it to watch. Other than that, really, there's no more information for it. So let's go straight into the review. I remember when I first watched this, I did not care for it. I can't tell you why I didn't care for it because it's been so long since I watched it. Giving it a second chance, I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed watching it for this. Um, David Howard Thornton plays a much better Art the Clown. I will say that. No question, hands down, David Howard Thornton has the facial expressions down packed. On that note, though, Mike Gianelli did pretty good. He did pretty good. Um, Overall, it wasn't very gory like the Terrifier movies would be, but it still had a good amount of gore. I do believe the movie itself relied way too much on jump scares versus actual substance, but maybe I'm picky. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll give it 3.5 severed heads. How about that? We'll give it 3.5 severed heads. So that's gonna do it. Um, One more thing before we go, though. One big special announcement. Starting on October 16th, there will be a new show coming. It is going to be wrestling themed. Um, it will feature me, Raz, and Matt. Props the Clown. Once again reunited. We're still going to be doing Matt and Monsters and that. We're just trying to work out when to start doing that again. But we're bringing up a new show called and I'm going to do this wrong, the Back Body Drop Podcast. What we're going to do is we're going to go through old wrestling shows and review them. Shows that me and Raz have probably grown up watching, yet Matt has not seen. Our first episode is slated to release on October 16th. I believe it's going to be at 9 p.m. here on the Owlite Network. Our first show is going to be Halloween Havoc 1991, featuring the main event of Lex Luger versus Ron Simmons in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and a Chamber of Horrors match featuring Sting, Cactus Jack, Abdullah the Butcher, the Steiner Brothers, El Gigante. It is some very good, very nostalgic early 1990s WCW cheese. So tune in for that. Outside of that, you can find me everywhere at the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast on Facebook, on X, on YouTube. you can email me at bloodybinge@gmail.com. That is the best way to get a movie. If there's a movie you want to see, let us know. Tell us about it, and I'll do my best to do it. You can also find me at Sewer Dweller 78 on Twitch. I'm hoping to start doing some more Twitch work. Sewer Dweller 78 on Twitch, and you can also find me at TikTok as Sewer Dweller. But guys, that's gonna do it this week. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. The next time I come to you, I believe we're going to have an episode of Shivers. I'm gonna talk and see if I can get a guest on with me. Because I think Shivers would be really more interesting with a guest. So we are still going to we're going to keep on with the theme of the cryptids of America. And we're traveling just about an hour south of Dayton, Ohio to Kentucky. That is our next episode of Shivers. Keep an eye out on the social media to find out what the next movie is. But guys, be good to each other. Visit a haunted house this Halloween season. And of course, watch more horror.